Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Quite a crowd. Thank you all for joining us today for this very special announcement, one that, as you all know, UTEP has not had to make for quite some time. Speaking for those of us within UTEP athletics, I want to just take a moment to thank Bob Stull for the extraordinary leadership that he has provided UTEP and UTEP athletics for more than 2 decades as both head football coach and director of athletics, and for the trust that he has displayed in us within the athletics department, allowing us to do what we do. Bob, we will miss you, and Kim, we wish you great happiness with your family in Columbia, Missouri, and nothing but the best in your future endeavors. Although you have retired from UTEP, those that know you are aware that you will never truly be retired. Also, on behalf of my colleagues within UTEP athletics, we wish to welcome our new leader, Jim Center. Jim, to you and your family, your wife Susan, who is here with us, and your 4 children, welcome to El Paso and to UTEP. We are all excited to have the Centers as part of our family, and we look forward to assisting you in providing a superlative experience for our UTEP student athletes and for our wonderful UTEP fans as well. To introduce UTEP's new Director of Athletics, please join me in saluting our President. Dr. Natalicio continues to provide remarkable leadership and accomplishment to UTEP and to El Paso. The President of the University of Texas at El Paso, Dr. Diana Natalicio.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Buenas tardes. I am very, very happy to welcome so many of you here today. This is an incredible turnout, so we thank you very much for that. And I, too, want to begin by saying that transitions like this are always somewhat bittersweet because, on the one hand, we're going to be saying goodbye to colleagues with whom we've had the pleasure of working and enjoying the company of for 19 years, is that right? 20 years? Yeah. And so it's always a tough transition when you do that. But it's a very happy occasion as well, very sweet, when you know that the baton is being handed over in a very smooth and I think productive way. And so I am here to introduce an individual who is highly qualified to serve as the athletic director at the University of Texas at El Paso. He demonstrated that certainly during the interview process, and I think impressed everyone who had the opportunity to meet with him and to get to know him. And today, many others of you are going to have that pleasure, and so I'm delighted for that. I want to take a moment before I introduce Jim Center to tell you that this search process was probably as well done as any that we've done on the campus. Richard Adalto chaired it, and he hates the limelight, but I have to say that this was a remarkably capable effort on his part. It was efficient, it was well coordinated. He is always understated, but in fact, it was a remarkably good process. Richard, I want to thank you for everything that you did to make this efficient. We have 2 other major searches underway for deans, and the academic wheels move much more slowly than the athletic wheels, and so it'll be a while before we stand up and have an announcement to a probably far smaller crowd as well, to announce our dean candidate sometime next spring. But in the case of athletics, everything seems to have to move at some kind of hypersonic speed, and everything is urgent in athletics. And so this process has certainly been urgent, but also extremely thorough. And there were a lot of people involved in that process. Some of you, many of you are in the room today. I want to thank the members of the search committee, the Athletics Director Search Committee. And I'd like to ask you to stand just so we can recognize you and thank you for the work that you did. All the members of the committee on the athletic, thank you very, very much. They were the key organizing network for this search process, but in addition to that, we had many other groups and constituencies represented, members of the President's Athletic Advisory Council. A number of you are here today, and I'd like to ask you to stand as well. And if you stood the first time, you can stand again, Josh. Thank you very, very much, all of you. And then I'd also like to recognize the Faculty Athletic Council, and that would be Elena and Steve and others. Please stand if you are other members of the Faculty Athletic Council are here. Thanks to all of you. Universities are very consultative places, and so we draw on the rich set of perspectives that all of our constituents bring to us. I'd also like to welcome today and thank you for your participation, members of the athletic department staff, student athletes. All of you contributed to our collective assessment of the candidates and the finalists for this position, and for that we're very, very grateful. The individual that will become UTEP's next athletic director has a remarkable story, really a very rich set of experiences. I think all of us were very impressed with several things. I would mention in particular, from my perspective, the range of institutions in which he has played a role in providing leadership in athletics. Institutions big and small, institutions with bigger budgets and smaller budgets, institutions in different places in the country. All of those experiences help contribute to a broader view of intercollegiate athletics and the way in which it has to be conducted in today's world. I was also impressed, as I know many of you were, with the experience that he brings in development and fundraising and in operations. You know, in today's world, athletics relies heavily on development activities and fundraising, and then efficient operations to make sure that those funds are used in the most efficient way possible. And so those two factors were, for me, and I know for many of you who communicated with me, very important as well. But I think it was also Jim's tremendous interpersonal skills when he came to interview. He clearly communicated a desire to work with everyone, to participate in every way that he could in the life of this university and in this community. And his warmth and his interest in the work of this university and its role in the community was truly striking. And so I'm very pleased to welcome to the podium now UTEP's next Director of Intercollegiate Athletics, Jim Center, and he is here with his beautiful and sweet wife, whom I got to know earlier today, and I'm really happy you're able to be here, and her name is Susan, and you'll get to know her too. So thank you both very, very much for being here.
Well, good afternoon. I'm not brave enough to try to start my first press conference with Spanish, like my colleague here, Dr. Natalicio, did, but I would like to say thank you for the opportunity. I can tell you I am really, really honored to be here and to be named the athletic director at UTEP. I'm humbled by it. It's not every day you follow an icon like Coach Stoll, and I don't know if you all call him Coach or Bob or Director Stoll, but he's known by a lot of different names in the industry. The good news is it's one thing to follow a man as the next athletic director. Thank goodness I don't have to follow him as the football coach, because he did a pretty good job doing that as well. But really and truly, there's a lot of big shoes to fill here, and Coach, congratulations. I'd be remiss if we didn't give Coach a round of applause and tell him thank you for what he's done. Coach, now the real work begins as you get to Columbia and you and Kim get settled in your new home. I'm sure there's a lot of projects around the house that you've been putting off for a long time, so you'll be able to get busy on those. I'd like to thank the search committee, and in particular Richard, who chaired the search. He did a great job, and I appreciate the work and the effort. If you've never done one of these, you don't have any idea how they can just consume you and take over your life. I'm sure Richard's probably the happiest man here today besides myself, because this chapter now is closed and he can get on to doing the rest of the things in his world that he does, and he's got a lot of different tasks and jobs that he does. I'd like to thank the search committee in the service that everybody participated and did and put in on that. This has been a very, very thorough process, starting all the way from just going through the application process to the Skype interview to the on-campus interview. And so my wife and I, during the interview process, there was about a 7-minute window when they were going to turn the room from one meeting to the next. In about 7 minutes, I just happened to turn on my phone real quickly, and about 50 text messages and 100 emails came in, and I went, wow. But I was smart enough to see the several, maybe 5 or 6 from my wife that said, how's it going? What do you think? And I was able to just say, it's great. It's better than I thought it would be. And then it was time. Australia came in the room. I said, got to go. And so here we are. So it's been fast and furious. I also want to take the time. I'm going to ask my wife. This will embarrass her, but I'm going to ask her to stand up and turn around and wave to everybody. This is my wife, Susan. And so without your spouse support, and obviously that of your family members in particular, we have 4 children. 3 of them are out of the house, and we still have 1 daughter who's a freshman in high school that will relocate here. But without their love, support, it's hard to do what you do in athletics, because you have to be all in. This isn't a job, it's a lifestyle that you choose to lead and you choose to live if you're going to be successful in it. And so that's what our family is, and we're thrilled to death to be here and have the opportunity. I can also say this is the first time I've ever been introduced by Chris Schenkel, future inductee, but let's give it up for John over here. Congratulations, John, that's really cool. We were joking when Coach Stull introduced me to the senior staff a little bit ago. We were joking around the room about how many people in the room, because there's several young people even knew who Chris Schenkel was. But I've had a chance to work with several people in my career at Idaho and then at Colorado who are Chris Schenkel Award winners, so I knew exactly the honor that is for you, John, so congratulations. During my interview process, I shared with the committee and everybody that I came in contact with about my vision for an athletic department. I talked about, in particular, I started out talking about our guiding principles that I believe you've got to run a department by, and it really does start out with this idea that our job is to educate young people here. And my job as the athletic director is to make sure that student athletes have and reach their highest potential, right, both academically and athletically. It's so important that you remain focused on that. Dr. Natalicio and I talked earlier today, and we talked about, you can get caught up in the business of doing sports and the business of athletics and raising money and budgets and buildings and all the things. You just need to recalibrate yourself and focus on young people and the role that we play in their development and the opportunity and the access that athletics allow for young people to come to college, many of them who would never, ever be here. And so it's really important that you focus on student athletes and the student athletic experience. And we're going to be committed to making sure that each young person that comes here maximizes their potential. They all have different amounts of potential, but you have to have a commitment to maximizing their experience while they're here on this campus, and we'll be about that. And then to a larger extent, how can I be a part of every student that comes to UTEP on a much grander and bigger scale? I think it's important that you set the ground rules of how you're going to run your administration in this idea that we're going to respect all people, and we're going to treat people with dignity, and we're going to treat them with fairness. It's important that that is a bedrock of how you're going to interact with people. It doesn't matter who you're talking to about it. I really believe that respect is that universal language. It crosses all cultures, it crosses all languages, it crosses all socioeconomic levels. People know when you respect them, and that's what we're going to be about under my leadership. The last guiding principle is this idea that we're going to do the right thing. And when I say do the right thing, in other words, we're going to follow the laws, we're going to follow the rules and the policies and the procedures of our governing bodies from the federal level, the state level, the community here, the system level, obviously our own campus. And I keep talking about this idea that if you understand the spirit of the rule, then you'll stay on track. Unfortunately, some people are always looking for the gray area. If you learn and understand the spirit of why rules are in place, they're there to protect generally, they're there to keep people out of trouble and out of problems, they're there to create fairness and equitability, And so if you do that and you understand the spirit of the rule, you'll be in great shape. And so we'll focus on those 3 guiding principles under my administration. Now, the fun things that I talk about all the time with our coaches and staff and our student athletes are what I call my AAA philosophy. And this is where I start to get wound up because, man, this is, at the end of the day, this is what we're all about. This idea that the first A is attitude. Everything starts with a positive attitude. If anybody's in here and say, boy, I want to be around somebody that's negative, hold your hand up. Nobody wants to do that, right? Everybody wants positive people in their organization. And I believe that that's a bedrock of being successful. You're going to look at the glass as always being half full. You're going to find the reasons why you can and you should and you want to sell the city of El Paso, why you want to sell UTEP to everybody. Instead of focusing on the things that it doesn't have or that you wish it had, focus on the things that we do have. And we've got a lot to sell here. And focus on those kinds of things. The only way you can do that is if you're positive. So I'm going to tell you, gang, that's probably one of the number one things you're going to hear me talk about all the time. Positive, positive, positive. I think most of the positive people I've been around have got 2 characteristics generally that I see out of them. Number 1, they're humble, all right? When I say humble, that's not a word we use in America today very often, but it's this idea that, you know, don't think less of yourself, but think of yourself less. Put other people before you, right? Serve other people. And you'll be amazed the kind of good things that will happen when you do that. And the other thing is this idea of being grateful. And when you're excited every morning that you get up to do what you do, and you have all your faculties about you, and you have work, meaningful work to do that has a transformational impact on young people's lives, man, if you can't get fired up and excited about that, you shouldn't be in college athletics. You're in the wrong business. For that matter, I'd say you shouldn't be in higher education. And so that's a big part of this idea of being successful is attitude. The second one I talk about is it is action. People go, well, action, what do you mean by that? I mean, get up early, stay late, roll up your sleeves, go to work. There is no shortcut to success. You've got to put in the time. It doesn't matter what profession you're in. You've got to have laser-like focus, and you've got to pour your heart and soul into something if you want to accomplish something that's meaningful. And so you've got to be able to roll up your sleeves, go to work hard, come early, stay late. So now you've got 2 of the ingredients of success, right? You've got a great attitude, and you're willing to work to get where you want to go. The third thing that I talk about is this idea of accountability. And the challenge that every human being has every day we get up is, am I going to own what happens to me today? And I'm not talking about the randomness of some crazy thing. I'm talking about, am I going to prepare? Am I going to follow a process that I know has been tested and will produce positive results in my life? Or am I going to sit around and go, oh, woe is me. I didn't get the recruit. I didn't get the win. I don't have what I need to get my job done. Or you're going to go out and you're going to own it, right? So attitude, action, and accountability. And so those are the tenets of my leadership, what I believe, and my philosophy as we move forward. The last thing I want to share with you is that, I mean, my sense already is that this is a very, very warm place. There's a lot of great people working in this organization in the university proper. People have been very open and welcoming to date. And of course, it's a short period here, but I can feel it. I can sense it. We've got a lot of great things to sell here. But great organizations start with great people, just like the people who gathered in this room today. So I appreciate you being here. I can tell you we want to build a culture of family, and I think that resonates with people. And, you know, this idea of family really comes down to everyone is valued, right? No one's perfect. We all know that, but everybody is valued. And so we're going to focus on building a family culture, and we're going to focus on valuing everybody. You're going to hear me talk over and over and over about this idea that every person makes a difference. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. There's not anybody in this community who couldn't make a difference and be a difference maker for UTEP athletics. My job and our staff's job is to go out and engage this community like never before to get more people involved so that they can make a difference and be a difference maker. So with that, I think we'll maybe open it up for questions.
The average going rate for a Conference USA football coach hired in the last 2 years has been about $900,000. Can you guys kind of match that?
Okay, first of all, maybe I should have set the ground rules for this. Would you mind saying your name and who you're asking the question on behalf of so that everybody can hear it? That way we don't miss anything.
Brett Bloomquist from the El Paso Times.
Okay, Brett. Repeat your question if you could, please.
Over the last 2 years, the average Conference USA hire has made about $900,000 a year. Are you guys going to be in a position to be able to match that?
I have been told that we will be competitive in our salary, And I'm a big believer that it's not always about the money. I'm going to tell you, folks, if you're always going to say you've got to have the most money to hire somebody, I'm going to tell you I disagree with that. If you're going to say you've got to have the best of everything, I'm going to tell you I disagree with that. We should be striving toward those endeavors, but if you have everything, then heck, anybody can do the job, right? I'm looking for somebody who's going to come in here and be a difference maker in how they appreciate this place and what they do, not just the salary. That's a good question. Fair question, though. Yes, sir. Hi, Aaron. Thank you. Well, as I said earlier, Bob Stoll has been here 20 plus years as the athletic director. The athletic department's in pretty good shape, right? Now, there's no question, there's a lot of things I don't know about the athletic department. We're actually going to sit down this afternoon with Bob and Chris Parks and myself, and I'm going to learn more in depth and more of the details and the intimacy of our department so I get to know it better. But I think it's in really good shape. And I think there's a ton of great people here. Look at Coach's track record hiring folks and the number of people who have gone on and had successful careers as administrators. So I think that speaks for itself. Yes, sir.
I'm Kevin Hull from KBI-TV.
Hi, Kevin.
Why UTEP and why now?
Great question. That was one of the first questions out of the search committee. So I've told people this. I think some people raise their eyebrows like, you got to be kidding me. But it really is the truth. I've had my eye on this job for over 20 years. I've known about UTEP, and let me tell you all the different reasons why. First of all, Coach Stoll won here in football. And I've always looked at this place and said, gosh, that place is a sleeping giant. And it has the ability to be more than it is. And people have shown here that you can win. Now, the question is, can we sustain winning? And how do we get there? And I think it comes back to what attracted me to this job is we have proven that you can win at UTEP, right? Number one. Number two, we have a great city. And this is you can say anything you want. This is a great city. And then when you take in the community of Juarez, we have nearly, I think, around 3 million people to be able to try to energize and engage in a meaningful way to elevate UTEP and UTEP athletics. Okay? Obviously, look outside. It's a Chamber of Commerce day today. I don't know if you guys dial that in just for me, but my sense is, and my wife is from the Phoenix Valley, so we're very, very used to this topography and this weather, and so we enjoy that and can appreciate that. We got off the plane last night. We talked about, wow, it's amazing, the lack of humidity. If you're in Charleston, South Carolina, trust me, there's a lot of humidity there. So it's so noticeable. You walk off the plane, you're like, wow. That's just amazing. So that's just a tiny sample of some things. But one of the things that I like and I appreciate is the fact that this institution has a well-diverse, well-rounded academic offering. And so there's some institutions you can go to and you don't have the full plate of academic courses and majors and graduate degrees. This place has that, and that's stuff we can sell when we're out on road recruiting. So those are just a handful of them. But at the end of the day, if I didn't believe we couldn't win here and we couldn't compete for championships, I wouldn't be standing here. I believe with all my heart we can. Yes, sir.
Jim Merrick O'Brien from CBS 4. Obviously a challenging season for the football team, and once Kugler resigned, then we started seeing football recruits decommit. No wins this season, so it feels like you're way behind the 8 ball. How do you catch back up, and do you have a coach in mind already?
Let's start with the easier question. I do not have a coach in mind already. We have been talking, Richard and myself, Coach Stoll, on the transition as well as doing a coaching search. So we're already in search mode. And so we've been working on that ever since basically the job was offered to me. So that part is going well. Let me just tell you, gang, there are no shortcuts to success. You have to respect the process. And I don't care who we hired. You could hire Nick Saban tomorrow, and he could come in here, and there are no shortcuts to success. It takes time to go out and recruit the right kind of student athletes who will matriculate, right, who are going to develop. We've got to do a great job of evaluating talent and developing that talent. What I will tell you is, and I know everybody has this angst of, gosh, there's an early signing period, December the 20th. My understanding is right now we do not have any commitments at this point in time. We'll have to get a coach hired. We'll do it as quickly as we possibly can. We're not going to sacrifice speed for quality, right? We're going to be focused on finding the right fit at this institution. And as I said, it's going to be somebody who is going to look at this place and say, I can sell the heck out of it. Man, look what I've got to work with. And so we're going to go out and we're going to find somebody like that as soon as we do it. What I will share with you a little bit is I think some of the attributes that we're looking for. We're going to find somebody that has great integrity. If I'm going to hitch my wagon to a horse, I want it to be somebody that I can trust. And we're going to hire somebody with great integrity. I think we want to find somebody that has the demonstrated ability to move the football and score points. I mean, obviously, you only have to score one more point than your opponent nowadays, and everybody tends to miss that fact. But at the end of the day, we've got to find somebody that can score points. And this is a high-scoring league. You've got to score enough points to beat your opponent, and you've got to play good enough defense to hold them, right? So we'll find somebody that can do that. We certainly want to be able to find somebody who is a great recruiter. And at the end of the day, you know, recruiting isn't just about identifying 25 to 50 young people in football or any other sport that everybody else in America is recruiting. What you need to do is find the right fit for this place, right? The type of young person who is going to live out the ideals and the values and the culture of UTEP and UTEP athletics and is going to thrive in this environment. So we've got to find a coach who can evaluate talent and can sell that vision to young people, and they're out there. We just got to work hard at it. It's not easy, but we've got to work hard at it. And so the other thing I would say along with that is obviously the ability of our next head football coach to build a staff that is talented, really good teachers, really good people of character, and the ability of people to go out and hit the road recruiting. And I will say this, I'll just add one more thing. When you look at the state of Texas, probably next to some of maybe the state of Florida, maybe Ohio, there's as many Division I prospects in the state of Texas as any place else in America, right? And it's time for us to get our share of those great players to come to El Paso and play for UTEP.
And then
So,
if I can just follow up.
yes, sir.
Can you sort of take us into the mind of an athletics director right now where you have to go back to the Citadel, but you know this is your job, so just how much do you balance what you're weighing with UTEP and the Citadel right now when you leave this press conference?
You bet. Well, I don't think you want to see inside my mind. It's not a pretty thing. But I can tell you there's a lot of things going through my mind. And if you wake up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, you will not go back to sleep, I can assure you, because all these things are running through your mind. But yeah, for the next 15 days or so, I'll be balancing and juggling 2 different jobs and responsibilities, those that I have at the Citadel and those that I will have in working with our leadership team and hiring a new football coach. So it's all on the plate. Yes, sir.
Lou Romano with the local CBS.
Yeah, Lou.
Have any football coaches already reached out?
Well, I can tell you we've had a lot, but I'm not going to get into the specifics of candidates. I'm not going to talk about beyond today the process that we're involved in. From today moving forward, I will not be talking about the search until we have a press conference and announce our new coach. Yes, sir.
April Rodriguez with the IRN Internet Network. My question is, what are your thoughts on the facilities themselves?
Yeah.
Are they undersold here?
Well, let me be honest in saying this. I haven't been in every facility, but Coach Stoll on my interview took me through many of them. In fact, many of them that we went in and out of, I went, wow, this is nice. I had not been in this facility as an example, but gang, all you got to do is look out the window here, right? Look out the window in every direction, and you see God's beauty, right? You see facilities that most young people will look at. I guarantee you, this is going to be the best anywhere in Conference USA, right? But I tell you what makes it great, fill it, right? Gang, you want to make a difference in Conference USA? Fill it, right? Go to the basketball arena, fill it, okay? That's where every single person can make a difference and be a difference maker. We've got to engage the El Paso community, the Juarez community, to be a part of everything that's happening here and generate the excitement. Yes, sir.
Andy Morgan, News Channel 9. How do you accomplish that?
Yeah.
With the community and getting them involved and increasing attendance, all those things, and getting people excited about
Yep.
UTEP athletics?
Yeah, Andy, that's a good question. There's not one thing. I think people are looking for one silver bullet. Like if I go do X, people will show up. It's not like the Field of Dreams when you say build it and they will come. That doesn't exist. It's a lot of hard work. It's taking some risk. I'll tell you probably the biggest ingredient of all is winning, right? Winning drives people to come in and watch you. Being exciting drives people to come in and watch you, right? And so we've got to hire the right kind of coaches who can do that and get it done. Now, the flip side of that is, I will tell you, being engaged in the community and making sure that you're visible, that people know that they're welcome, that's a big part of it as well. I don't know all the different things that the staff has done here to engage the community and do that. I'm going to learn about it very quickly, get up to speed, ask a lot of questions. But certainly, I think every community and every organization and every university an athletic department can do a better job of that very thing. Yes?
Eric O'Brien again from CBS. You were at Idaho with Tim Floyd, our basketball coach. Two-parter here. How much do you know about him? I mean, and is any coach, I guess, free from evaluation this season? Basically, is his job on the line this season?
Well, let me go back and talk about, I was a young defensive line coach in 1986 when Tim Floyd got the head basketball job. And on his staff, he seemed to do a pretty good job. He brought Larry Eustace and Kermit Davis, who's over at Middle Tennessee right now. And gosh, the name of the other guy escapes me. He's at Santa Clara. But he put together an amazing staff. And we've oftentimes joked about the kind of fun that we had, all being young coaches, not knowing, which way was up sometimes, but learning the trade. He did a wonderful job there and really set that program up to have success for the next 10 years there at Idaho. So it was neat to see Coach when I was on my visit here, and then we got a chance to spend another hour in the airport. We happened to be on the same flight flying back to Charleston that day, so that was really a lot of fun to catch up and reminisce a little bit with Tim. But I tell you what, let me just tell you this. Coaches are the biggest evaluators of what they do, okay? There isn't any coach in this university or the one that I work at that doesn't hold themselves to a high standard. And they have the most invested, they have the most to lose. And so trust me, they know that they're being evaluated. They're evaluating themselves, and they're the toughest on themselves. With that being said, gang, every program is being evaluated. Every day that each one of us get up, you're being interviewed by somebody. You just don't know who's interviewing you. Now think about that for a second. They're watching the way you speak. They're looking at your passion. They're watching about your work ethic. They're gauging your language. Everybody here is being evaluated, and our coaching staff is no different. Now, I'm not going to come out and say, gosh, this coach is doing good, this coach is doing bad. My job is to be supportive of our coaches until we get through the end of the season and evaluate their progress. And oftentimes what coaches need is somebody to come along and say, hey, coach, keep your head up, keep your head up. We're going to be okay. Keep doing the right things. You're doing all the right things. You can't always control the outcome of what happens. And that's what I think people don't understand it. Let me say this. I don't think most people understand the way coaches pour themselves into their effort, right? And even beyond that, they don't always have the results that they want, right? And so that's the challenge for all of us, is to keep pouring yourself into it over and over and over. If you keep doing it long enough, if you have the right recipe, it will start to show up and you'll have success. Yes?
What are some of the goals you have for the first year here that you have set?
Yeah, well, let me talk about the first 100 days or so. There's some things that I'm going to try to get done. Well, I shouldn't say try to get done. We're going to get done. Number one thing, we're going to get a good football coach hired, on board, him and his staff in here, and we've got to do that as quick as we possibly can. The second thing I'd like to be able to do is meet as many of our top donors as I possibly can in terms of having a face-to-face meeting with them. Part of that is to obviously thank them for their help and support for the university, but it's really to gauge the kind of areas that I need to begin to focus on. When you ask questions and you just listen, say, gosh, tell me how we're doing. What can we do better? What do you think we need to be doing? People do not have a problem with sharing their thoughts with you. I can tell you that. All right, everybody's got a thought, everybody's got an opinion, and I want to hear them. Right? I want to do that with our top donors. I would like to be able to do that with our corporate partners and see how we're doing there with our colleagues with IMG, and see if there's something we can do to enhance that in those relationships. I'd also like to be able to hold a series of town hall meetings. And so when you say town hall, what I mean by that is I want to go out where everybody else is at and ask those same questions. How are we doing? What's it going to take to get the folks from the east side to come over here and participate in our program, right? And let's listen to what they have to say. Sometimes that can be painful, right? Because people don't have a problem saying, well, you don't do this, you don't do that, da-da-da-da-da. So I recognize that we may hear some things, but that's the kind of feedback I need to have so that we can go to work. Thank you. Good question. Yes, sir.
Looking at wrap up this up sometimes. I know the stadium project is probably the next big facilities thing that's probably pretty far along. What are some other specific facility things you could see that you keep projects like that?
Well, I'm not going to comment on all those different types of things right now because I don't know them well enough. I can tell you this. If you're not continually enhancing facilities, you're falling behind. We will be focused on that to tell the student-athlete experience, to tell the story, to talk about the history and the future and the traditions. There's no college or university in America that is not working on athletic facilities, and we'll continue to do that same thing.
Do you have a time frame for football coach?
No time frame. As quick as possible without sacrificing quality. All right. So all the do we have any student athletes in here? Raise your hand. Where are our student athletes at? Raise your hand. Oh, we got one in the house. Oh no, we got two. All right. Hey, thank you all for coming. It's great to have you guys here. I can't wait to get a chance to meet you and get to know you better, and we're going to have a great ride here. I look forward to working with you. Coaches, where are our coaches at? Everybody's a coach. Hold your hand up. All right, great. Thank you, guys. Look forward to meeting you and working with each one of you. What about our staff? Where's the rest of our staff? Raise your hand. Good. Boy, the staff outnumbers the coaches. We can take them. All right, good job, staff. Look forward to working with you. We'll tape our ankles. We're going to go to work now. All right. Any other questions? All right. I'm not sure who I'm turning this over to. John, if you're coming back up. Are you signing 8x10 glossies yet, or? Yes, thank you.
Anybody else got any suggestions? That's going to do it. Thank you all for being here, and hopefully we'll see you in the Haskins Center tonight. Thanks.